Hi, everyone. My name is Justin Sparks. I lead vertical development and strategy for North America here at InMobi. We are joined today by Forrester and Sucharita Kodali. Welcome.
Thanks, Justin. It's great to be here today.
Sucharita, we're going to get into Q4 and what to expect this holiday season for retail. So with that, let's go ahead and dive right into it. It's been an interesting year. And really an interesting 2 or 3 years for retail. And so as I've heard someone put it the other day, we've come out of COVID, we've come out of supply constraints, and now we're going into a high inflation period, or have been in a high inflation period going into this holiday season. So it's been an interesting hurricane, if you will, of macroeconomic impact to the retail sector. So we're looking at holiday forecasts anywhere ranging between 3 to 7% off of a 15.1% growth last year. Forrester is forecasting just shy of 4% this year. What are the levers for retailers going into Q4 as they look to go into this environment to try to maintain strong comps and really grow as they go into the holiday season for 2022?
Even in spite of inflation, we saw record growth in 2021 in particular. And that was a lot of the revenge shopping is what people often call it, which was the compensation really for what happened in 2020 when sales really fell off a cliff for not for kind of reasons related to anything other than the fact that consumers were just home more. And they, as a result of being home, of course, they saved a lot, and a lot of that money went into 2021. So you saw this huge double-digit increase in sales in 2021. But what 2021 ended up being was I think it was the largest year ever in recorded retail history. So even if in 2022 we're relatively flat to 2021, it's still a big year, and it's important to capture that. And if you are, whatever category you're in, to be sure to capture your fair share. And the playbook in Q4 is fairly established. It is really about promotions. It's really about being in front of consumers with key items at key time periods. And what is changing, if anything, is just that it's earlier and earlier. And those timeframes used to be maybe Black Friday to, the days leading up to Christmas. We're just seeing shopping happening often earlier and earlier.
Yeah, and Sucharita, I think what we saw last year a little bit was the quote unquote sugar high, right? From some of the stimulus money that came into the ecosystem. Right. You make an excellent point, right? Around comps are going to be very tough for retailers this year, given the increase to the baseline number, given the record growth from last year. What we've seen and have started to see as we got into the season this year is, people are still spending. It just may not be on durable goods, right? We're seeing travel really increase and entertainment increase. So there's still excitement from consumers in the marketplace, but they're going to other areas. So I guess as we look at, and you kind of touched on this, some of the levers or the playbook that retailers have, how do retailers attract some of that spending back into their walls as folks are out traveling and trying to get out after 2 years of being inside?
Marketing is also probably the biggest lever that all retailers have in Q4. We see a lot of ability to be much more dynamic based on what's in inventory or what you may be wanting to push in through paid search. Naturally, email, of course, continues to be extremely important. And again, this year we also see a lot of growth in retail media as well, particularly because paid social may not be as big in 2022. And all of these, of course, are the different touch points. You also have to think about where which devices all of this is going to be surfaced on as well, because consumers continue to use, for the most part, their mobile devices, and that's that. And you certainly want to make sure that all of these touch points are optimized for mobile communication.
So for retailers, are you looking to gain more from your existing loyalty base, or are you looking to go and acquire customers with your marketing programs this fall?
Yeah, that's a great question, Justin. And I think that through, kind of the inception of e-commerce, it's always been about both. I think that this particular year, retailers have an opportunity to continue to lean into existing customers, because they are often they probably gained or regained many in 2021. And you want to make sure that that connection, that communication, that relationship is still there. So I'm a big advocate of customer retention, particularly in Q4, because that it's just because consumers are shopping then, and kind of you certainly don't want to lose your best shoppers to others. So that's absolutely important. But I'd be remiss if you didn't also talk about the importance of customer acquisition, because Q4, like we said, is the biggest shopping period of the year. And we know that this is also a huge opportunity for gaining new customers every year, particularly through promotions. And so it's not an either or, it's an and it's how sophisticated you can be with targeting, particularly with loyalty. Some of the things that we see are, for instance, for sales, we're seeing a lot of retailers wanting to offer like first look opportunities for some of their best customers, for particularly during promotional time period.
What are we looking for in Q4 that may foreshadow 2023 in retail?
That's a great question. And I think that these last few years have been so strange, and 2022 continues to also be an odd year. What can we tell for the future is I think probably a story about how inflation is impacting sales more than anything, because what it appears to be is that inflation isn't necessarily going to be here for the next 5 to 10 years, but it's probably going to be here for the next 12 months before it gets normalized. And in that environment, I think that we can expect nominal sales to continue to go up, but the units sold are probably going to be relatively flat, it appears. So we probably in 2023, similar to 2022, can't necessarily expect huge unit growth, but until we see some of those real incomes going up, we probably, kind of will see a little bit of flatlining. That's another thing that's important, is that, we're almost waiting for the demand to normalize a little bit, because what we saw, of course, was that huge burst in 2021, and that, of course, was not going to continue. But what we've seen is almost like a reversion to 2018, 2019 growth levels. So we kind of are reverting back to that line. And that's partially why in 2021 we saw more sales going back to the store, and e-commerce, kind of had one of its lowest, kind of growth years as people were returning to stores. But, kind of we expect that number to almost normalize. And, if you eliminate 2020, 2021, even 2022 from the curve, 2023 should almost probably track back to, 2019 growth with maybe, a couple of years of leapfrogging.
It's an interesting time, certainly for retail, Sucharita. Well, we thank you for your time today. We certainly will be watching the trends this holiday season, and as you said, there are some indicators as what 2023 could look like for the retail sector as well. So, thank you again for your time, and have a great day, everyone.